All right, so we continue to focus on today, and we take the discussion further now. We have in our Durban studio Divya Naidoo. She is a Child Protection Program Manager from Save the Children. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the SABC News channel. Now, we had two children who had earlier attended Children's Parliament in Cape Town, and they were basically saying that, look, there hasn't been any progress since the department was moved from the presidency to the social development department. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Priscilla, for having Save the Children on. I fully agree and support that call from the children. It's something that Save the Children has also been asking for a long time. And because we believe that children's issues are not just related only to the work of this Department of Social Development, but relates to all. And as the Child Ambassador said before, labor issues, we should be talking to the Department of Social Development. When it comes to issues around children's rights to documentation with migrant children, for example, then we need to have the Department of Home Affairs. Department of Social Development does not have the power to instruct all of these departments on what to do when it comes to children, but the presidency does. And therefore, having the rights of the child, the Office of the Rights of the Child back in the presidency will really ensure that children's rights are held up high at all times.
But I think it's also worrying that you have a department official who says that, yes, it's true, the unit has been events-driven for the past year, so only next year they will start looking at initiating a number of programs. So the children are indeed right to say that we haven't seen any progress.
You see, at Save the Children, we do ongoing work with children. So ultimately, children that we're working with that end up at the Children's Parliament are not involved in any way for the first time. They have been involved in programs at a grassroots level that we run on an ongoing basis. So we work with children continuously. Save the Children has been key to developing the Children's Manifesto. So children have participated in that process. Save the Children has also led the process of bringing children together to write the first children's complementary report to the UN committee. So children have been participating from a very grassroots level. So while they come together nationally at these events once a year, our work on the ground continues all the time. And that's a critical part to the work that we do with children, because I fully agree with what you're saying. It should not be event-based. It should be ongoing. And opportunities should be provided for children from all sectors, rural and urban. And so we work with children from rural communities, we work with children from townships, we work with children from the urban areas, so that all of their voices can be heard and come together. So ultimately, when the ambassadors come in and speak, like today they did earlier on in Cape Town, when they speak, they're talking not just from themselves, but they're speaking the voice of a whole number of children that they represent from their provinces.
Indeed. So what conversations are you driving as Save the Children SA? I mean, we have in recent days seen a whole number of horrific incidents happening on children. Children are being violated, children are being raped, children are being killed. Children are killing themselves. Just this morning we were reporting on a 13-year-old who had allegedly stabbed to death her own grandmother, I beg your pardon. So it actually raises questions around what conversations are we having with those children when you go down on the ground to them?
Yeah. You see, our programs, we do very intensive programming on the ground in communities, and largely our program reaching children is through schools. And what you're talking to is issues around violence, and we see a lot of violence that by adult-child, child-on-child, and child-on-adult violence. And so our programs talk to children around them understanding their rights, but with that also understanding what responsibilities that go with those rights, and what kind of value base that we want to raise our children with. So with children, we would run programs through schools, looking at issues of them, understanding their rights, but also what they do to teach other children in the school about the rights and about responsibilities and about values. Because we believe it's very important for children to be able to have a voice. Article 12 is very specific in the UN Convention about children having the right to be able to participate. And so we take participation at that very grassroots level. So we even encourage at school level issues around violence, for example. We would say to schools, how do you get children themselves to talk about how to address, ask them what's the solutions to address issues of violence in the school. So we bring together rights, but we also look at how we address issues that children are facing in schools.
Yeah, and I think you bring an important point that rights go hand in hand with responsibility. Children should be taught responsibility as well. Thank you so much. That's where we'll leave it for today. Divya Naidoo, she is Child Protection Programs Manager from Save the Children South Africa, talking to us about today being World Children Day.